the hell? Hello, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode.
What is happening?
What
is that? Where's even the logo? What just happened?
Maybe we go back to one. Maybe we go back to one.
No, we're doing this. It's done. Let's go.
We don't have an order. What's the order?
I'll tell you the order. We did the show. We're starting.
We didn't even do the logo. What's happening right now? Wait,
what
time
logo?
out.
What logo? What are you talking about?
Did we even have the intro to the show happen?
Yeah, we just played it. What are you talking about?
I didn't see it. It didn't come up on my thing. It was literally you switching screens, and then you didn't tell me what the order was.
Let's do it again for Princess who didn't catch it. That's all right. Let's go.
What?
You tell it's a Friday show. It's a Friday show. Welcome, everybody, to this brand new episode of the
Geek
Buddies.
Hey! We're back at it again this week. We've got so much to get into. We've got a bunch of new trailers going on, which will be third on the list. Then we're going to get into, we're going to start off with some Dune 2 stuff. And in the middle, we're going to talk some X-Men 97 Marvel stuff. And then we're going to take a break and talk about our big main topic. And our main topic this week is going to be our Madam Web review. And it's a spoiler review. So it's just a warning ahead of time. We are going to spoil some things in the movie for the 10 of you. For the 10 million of you who are not going to watch it, and for the 10 of you who did. So you don't have to go to the movie. We'll help you with it as we go along. But we're going to talk about all that stuff here on this episode of the Geek Buddies, and I hope everybody has the order now. But let's introduce ourselves. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies.
I am Michael Vogel. I'm a writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm a television actor and an animation writer, and just happy to be here.
Anyway, BetterHelp. Now, listen, just a quick thing to everybody who's listening or watching us. Please remember to sponsor and patronize the ads that we have, the clients, the incredible people who support the show here on the Geek Buddies. If you listen to an ad when you download the podcast, please go and support them and use the products there because that helps them keep coming back to support us every week here on the Geek Buddies, which we appreciate madly. For those of you who are new, thank you very much. Welcome aboard. For those of you who've been here for a while, good to see you. You know the way the show works. Each of us brings up a geek news item. We talk about it amongst ourselves, and then we take a break between each of those geek news items and get into our main topic. So, as I said, I will kick things off here with Dune 2. Dune Part 2 had some first reactions that came up. Let's take a look at them now. Some people, Sean O'Connell over there, called it masterful filmmaking on an epic scale. Jeff Zhang said Dune Part 2, Denis Villeneuve lands every spectacular, brutalist tableau he threw in the air 3 years ago. Sci-fi myth-making at its finest. Rosa Pata from Rosa Reviews, my friend there. Dune 2 is an epic, masterful cinematic experience. It's visceral, palpable, and must be seen on the biggest screen possible. And she got quoted by the Dune 2 people for the new ad campaign. Gregory Elwood at the playlist said, Dune Part 2 is damn impressive. Villeneuve creates some truly visionary moments. Austin Butler gives a truly transformative performance. And Wendy Lee, my friend Wendy, says, Dune Part 2 is one of the most anticipated movies of 2024. Sure, it exceeded my expectations. A masterpiece. Sound design and cinematography is incredible. And Scott Manzel over there at HGA said Dune Part 2 is truly an awe-inspiring cinematic achievement, one that continues to advance and build upon the world that Denis Villeneuve and company have exquisitely created, crafted, and shaped. If you love Part 1, you are going to go absolutely wild for Part 2. So, gentlemen, Dune Part 2, this is across the board. This is just a sample of what we've been seeing from first reactions. I see it Monday, so this is getting me even more hyped. But what do you guys think? As you hear these reactions, what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, the last blurb that you said, like, if you like Part 1, you're gonna love Part 2. So Part 1, not necessarily my jam, just because I don't know the books. I mean, I know aspects of them, but I've never read them from beginning to end. And despite the fact that I thought the film was really technically and visually like really, really impressive, I do think there is a bit of a Nolan icy distance to it if you don't know what's going on. So the first one, while I could appreciate the technical aspects, and I thought across the board, I'm like, yeah, all these performances seem like they're pretty good. Like I'm not that invested emotionally in the story, and I think you all had both sort of not justified those opinions, but it sort of clarified, like, yeah, if you don't know this world, this movie is going to be it's going to be a challenging watch. Now, I know there are a lot of folks out there that didn't know the books and went in and enjoyed it. I just wasn't one of them. That being said, from what everyone had spoken about previously, a lot of the visual splendor and a lot of the more exciting aspects of the story were going to come in part 2.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I might have to trudge through another viewing of part 1 just so I can be as up to date on everything Arrakis as I can. But yeah, I mean, you know, you can't deny what the first one accomplished in terms of it is pop filmmaking that got an Academy Award nomination.
Yeah.
So I mean, I wouldn't say this isn't my top 10 to look forward to, but I always love a good experience in a theater. So
nice. Michael, your thoughts as you read these reactions from various areas of the movie critic sphere?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the bigger, kind of to Shannon's point, I mean, yes, absolutely. If you loved part 1, people are saying you're going to love part 2. But I've also seen a lot of people coming out of this screening saying this movie is amazing and makes part 1 better. Because definitely liked, I liked part 1. I don't disagree with Shannon that if you aren't like deeply obsessed with Dune and those books, the movie could feel a little dry. You're in the desert. You know, it doesn't give you like a ton of like meaty emotional stuff for sure. I mean, definitely you've got the father-son relationship. It's all there,
right?
But it almost is so big that you're like, I don't even know where to grab on. So I get that for some people it was a lot, but what I've heard from multiple sources now is that not only do you go see part 2 and go, holy shit, but all the stuff that was built up in part 1 just lands amazing. So that this was always meant to be these two movies together. And that, so Shannon says he's going to trudge through part 1. I'm excited to go back and revisit because I think Denis Villeneuve is a great director and I think it is a gorgeous movie. So even though I don't disagree with him on the emotion being a little bit less than what I would ideally want, I think that emotion is going to come back in spades in part 2. So I'm very excited. This is absolutely one of the things I'm most excited about this year. And yeah, I can't wait to see it. I mean, I was already excited, but seeing the response from everybody across the board coming out, you know, sometimes we talk about this a lot.
Yeah.
Once the embargoes are lifted, particularly when it comes into the superhero genre, you get, this was the greatest thing. The action is amazing. This is all I ever wanted. Oh my gosh, they got this so right. And then you go see it and you're like, what movie were you watching? But this feels a little bit different. This feels like pretty much across the board. I haven't read one thing that was like, well, he really shit the bed.
Yeah.
They're all saying the same thing. So I'm stoked.
Yeah, I think you're right, Michael. You can usually read between the lines in certain reviews when you see the superhero stuff. People say certain things, but you rarely see when it's almost in unison that people are saying this is a masterpiece or this is like next level filmmaking when they come out of a film like this, right? I think the superhero thing is more about, hey, let's cater to our fans. With Dune, this is an approach he took with a sci-fi novel that is very much a artistic filmmaking approach, but making it consumable to the pop culture mainstream. And so a very difficult thing to do. And no surprise. I mean, the first, to be honest, you guys know I'm not the biggest fan of Lord of the Rings movies. I certainly don't like that first one. The second and third one is great, but the first one has to do all the work of laying the groundwork of everything. And so it can be a bit, to me, boring. It can be a bit that trudges through things. So you kind of have to get all this stuff established. And I think a lot of people sensed coming out of the first Dune movie that, okay, they've built the world. This is what they had to do. Now let's see what they're going to do with the pieces now that they've laid them in place. And it seems like from the reactions that Denis Villeneuve has really done this. And I hope to God this becomes a thing now where the Academy starts recognizing Denis more and more. The best director stuff. Maybe this is a Return of the King situation where, okay, the second one landed so well. This is already possibly the best picture leading the film that's leading the best picture race already in 2024, and we're just barely into February. So we will see, but I'm very encouraged by the reactions, especially because the people I picked can be quite difficult to please in certain ways. So the fact that they're all on board, I think, is a positive overall. So I'm looking forward to it.
Now, More importantly, when you go see it on Monday, are you getting the popcorn bucket?
Of course I'm getting the vaginal dentata bucket. Absolutely. Laying right in that thing. I go where angels fear to tread. You guys know that. You know that. But I do want to ask you guys about something that's really interesting that popped up yesterday related to Dune 2, which is more the meat of the discussion I want to have on this particular topic. Variety revealed that Anya Taylor-Joy confirmed her role at the London premiere. This was massive on social media. A lot of people reacted very negatively to this situation because it was a thing they were keeping under wraps until the movie came out. So what are your feelings when you see this reveal from a outlet like Variety 2 weeks before the film is supposed to come out, and they purposely kept this under wraps so that people wouldn't know this, and now there's a lot of people who are really upset about all of this? What are your thoughts on this, gentlemen?
Why are people upset before I tell you my response?
People are upset because she's playing a certain they think that she's playing a certain character that they didn't know was going to show up in the movie. So that's what I won't spoil. I think everybody, I think it's the Anya Taylor-Joy stuff is all over the internet, so I'm not spoiling anything here. But the character that she's playing, people are speculating a certain character that she's playing, and that people didn't know that character was going to appear in Dune Part 2, because I think it's a character connected to other books. Right. And so people were surprised by that. So there's a lot of people who are upset about it. Obviously, not everybody knows, like Shannon, knows the books back to front, but the people that do are super upset about it. But the overall idea of revealing stuff, because Variety has done this now quite a few times over the last couple of years. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, in this case, to your point, there's the Harry Styles in the post-credit sequence of Eternals.
Yeah, which me and you were at the premiere and saw that.
We were at the premiere and saw, and then everybody
came out.
Yeah, everybody ran out of that premiere and was like, Harry Styles, Harry Styles. So that is a thing where if you've not seen the movie yet, you're not supposed to know. Right. But if Anya Taylor-Joy is at the premiere running around in a bed sheet, I'm just kidding. She looks fabulous. But she's running around at the premiere and you're like, well, why is she there? Oh, she's in the movie. But now I didn't read everything, so I don't know. Variety said, we think she's playing this person. But, she's there. She's at the premiere. You're like, oh, you're in the movie. I didn't know. I'm impressed they kept it secret. But I don't think covering the fact that an actress showed up at the premiere of a movie that we didn't know was in the movie, and oh shit, look, she's in the movie, I don't know that kind of hits the same bar as we revealed the post-credit sequence of a Marvel film.
Okay. All right. Shannon, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think it was a bit poor form for them to reveal it? I mean, Anya Taylor-Joy confirmed it on the red carpet, so she was the one that was speaking about it. So it could be that the studio told her that she could reveal it on the red carpet. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Vogel on this one. I mean, if you show up at the premiere and she says, yes, I'm in this movie, that is 100%, that's not Variety. Someone was going to report that. Now, the situation with Eternals, because even still, despite the fact how popular the Marvel Cinematic Universe is, there are still people who are discovering those characters through the movies, who are not going to the comics. So when they came out and said, he's playing this character, the character's the brother of Thanos, it's like, okay, you didn't need to go. You shouldn't have gone that far. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think Harry Styles was at that premiere either.
I don't think so. Yeah.
And I'm struggling now to think with Spider-Man: No Way Home, were Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield there? If you want to keep something a secret, then you do everything you can to keep it a secret. And having Anya Taylor-Joy show up at the red carpet and confirm that yes, she's in the movie, that's not the crime that I think the Eternals thing was.
Yeah, there's a spoiler culture thing that people push back on, and certainly with the Spider-Man: No Way Home, there was a prominent person on YouTube who put up pictures from the movie, and that became a big deal. Tried to backtrack it a little bit, but in the end, it was already out there, and so that's where you get into, I think, a little bit of trouble.
I still remember when Infinity War came out, and the Russo brothers wrote that letter and posted it online, and and they picked the date. They were like, guys, we get it. Y'all want to talk about it. Don't spoil anything until this date. Spoiler culture and pushing back against spoiler culture is completely valid. And I think that we do all get so excited about the things that we watch, and we're all nerds. And so the second that the new episode of Mandalorian drops, the second that the new Marvel episode drops, the weekend the movie comes out, everyone is talking about it, everyone's doing it, we're all tweeting funny memes, funny jokes, oh, isn't this funny? And it's really easy to get caught up in it and forget that a bunch of people don't run out immediately and see the movie. So there's things that you don't want to spoil, or in the case of us today talking about Madam Web, you just say really big, hey, we're going to talk about it. But yeah, like I think when it's like what Shannon said, like I think like when a studio decides, hey, we're going to let this actress walk the red carpet and say, hey, I'm in the movie, then that's just fair game to be reported on. Now, if they were like, she is playing this character in the movie, this character is this, we think that this is what's going on with this, like if they kind of elaborated and went way deeper than what was on the carpet, that gets into how much do we really want to know until we see the movie.
Yeah. Fair points. All right. Well, let us know what you all thought about the Dune 2 reactions and the reveal of Anya Taylor-Joy in the movie in the comments section below. Let's take a quick break, and we're going to jump into a second section of our show. That's getting into some X-Men 97 stuff right after we come back after this. Nice.
There it is.
Good stuff.
Well, guys,
take it away.
It's been a good week for Marvel. Madam Web aside, or because Madam Web was coming out, Marvel decided to come out swinging this week. We got the Wolverine Deadpool trailer at the Super Bowl. We got the announcement about the Fantastic Four casting. You can hit up our Geek Bites episode from earlier in the week to see both of our opinions on all of that stuff. But then in addition, post our Geek Bites, they decided to go ahead and drop the trailer for X-Men 97. The animated X-Men series coming from Marvel Animation that is a follow-up to the 90s X-Men cartoon. And boy, oh boy, did people get excited about this. It was wild. So, in case you don't know, the X-Men animated series aired on Fox from about 1992 to about 1996 for 5 seasons. And for a lot of people, it was their introduction to the X-Men. It was a show that was ahead of its time for multiple reasons. It was one of the first Saturday morning cartoons that told serialized storytelling. Fox decided to air it all out of order, which got very confusing. But if you go to Disney Plus, it's fortunately in the right order now. But it told mature storylines. It touched on all of the big issues that are part of the X-Men mythos. The X-Men being feared and hated. It touched on racism. It touched on hatred. It touched on all of these huge issues. And this team of X-Men, this particular team of Cyclops, Rogue, Jean Grey, Beast, Wolverine, Gambit, Jubilee, and then Morph, which we'll get to in a minute, is for a lot of people the iconic X-Men team. So there was a lot of excitement around this, a lot of curiosity on what it was going to be. And based on the trailer, it is literally the next season in the X-Men series. It is X-Men 97 because it's following up after the 96 finale, and it picks up right where things left off. The X-Men are dealing with the seeming death of Professor Charles Xavier. Yeah. Professor Charles Xavier has left the School for Gifted Mutants in the hands of Magneto, and a bunch of shit is going to go down. So, gentlemen, before we dive into some of the wild opinions on Twitter in the past 24 hours about this show, what did you guys think of the trailer? And what did you guys grow up with the X-Men series? Did you not grow up with the X-Men series? And either way, what did you think of this?
Okay, I'll go first then. I did a trailer reaction, and I was, you know what? I did it yesterday, and I just was like, I've only seen a couple episodes of the show. I don't know if I should do a trailer reaction. I was like, fuck it, I'll put it up there. And I liked it, and I got the nice response from people who understood. Like, I hadn't seen a lot of it, so there's quite a few people who haven't seen it but are excited for this season and maybe going back to Disney Plus to catch up. It's 76 episodes. It's daunting, but maybe I can get it done before March, because if I watch 2 a day, maybe I'll knock it out. But I like the updated animation that still has the feeling of the old school animation. I like that you've got some new voiceover actors coming in and being a part of this. Shout out to friend of the show, JP Carliak, who's playing Morph. And so you're having all of these, and Jennifer Hale, who I love to pieces, and you're having these really talented people being involved in this. I like the storylines here. We're seeing the Sentinels. We're seeing Magneto coming in right at the end. What's the story that's going to be told there? Is the last will and testament true? Why would Xavier do this? So a lot of questions, but overall, and then the updated version of the theme song I thought was really cool as well. So across the board, for a guy who's only seen a few episodes of this original series, this got me really excited to watch this series and see what they're going to do with it. And it feels like they understand what made the first iteration work and how they could update it in a way that would make it work for audiences nowadays. So I came away from the trailer very confident that this is going to be a good show.
Shannon?
So yeah, I didn't grow up with the show. I mean, like it came out in 96 or 92. That is when I started high school. And so I was not as into animation as I am now. So watching the trailer, like I definitely acknowledge like they are really going after that nostalgic audience. I mean, at Comic-Con 2 years ago, they at the Marvel animation panel, they actually showed a working animatic, which is essentially like moving storyboards, and you can hear a lot of the same actors voicing the characters. So I could watch people have a very emotional, visceral reaction to this. I think the challenge of the show is because it looks so of its time. The craft has evolved a little bit in the last 30 years. So if it comes off to you as a little old, and some of the voice acting is very presentational and very declarative, it's just very different than what folks are maybe getting now. So I see the challenge there, but as a fan of all things Marvel, went and saw Madam Web yesterday, I will definitely be checking it out.
You bring up an interesting point, because it's a gamble for sure. They're clearly going for a specific vibe, and I, as the one of the three of us that like watched it every Saturday morning, was obsessed with it, loved the show. Like John, I'll be curious to see if you could do 2 a day getting up to the launch of this thing. Like some of them are hard to get through. I love it. The stories are great. Right. That animation is dated.
Yeah,
now, what they've done in the new version in X-Men 97, it has the vibe. The animation is better. It's smoother, it looks better, but they're definitely going. Shannon's right. They're going for something that, if you didn't grow up with the series, will this be your cup of tea? But the balance to that is, this is the very first time Marvel Entertainment is diving into mutants. Like, they've teased it. We got a little Professor X in Multiverse of Madness. We got a little X-Men theme when they told Miss Marvel that she was a mutant. Like, they've teased us a couple times, but this is full on. It is the X-Men. It is in, like, even though it's in the world of animation, like, the mutants are finally in here in the MCU in a way. And so I think there's going to be a lot of excitement about that. And it'll be curious to see if people watch it and go, ooh, what is this? It feels so dated. Or if people are going to get into it. Additionally, you mentioned JP Carliak, friend of one of our buddies, voicing Morph. They have come out and said that Morph, who was one of the only characters in the original series that was created for the show. He was not from the comics. He was an original character. Spoiler alert, he dies pretty early on, but he comes back later. I think the spoiler cap is okay, since that was like decades ago. Yeah. But he's back in the show, and they've announced that he's going to be non-binary. And boy, oh boy, you check YouTube yesterday, and the Disney has gone woke and ruined the X-Men memes are going wild, which I find particularly entertaining, given that of all comic book franchises, X-Men is almost by definition woke. Yeah. So I'm not quite sure how the comic book brand that is all about a group of minorities who are feared and hated by others for being different could be any more woke than it is. But apparently a lot of people online yesterday seemed to think so. There's also a strong contingent of people that are very upset that they have taken Rogue's proportions and made them a little more normal and a little bit less like they were designed by a prepubescent 11-year-old. Yeah. So, gentlemen, X-Men, can they go too woke?
Listen, I'm going to get in trouble, and I don't give a shit, but because I am used to it and I can take it. These anti-woke motherfuckers need something to make money off of their fan base from. And so they have to fabricate anger. They have to fabricate this kind of reaction. They were waiting for something. The mill must be fed. The ravenous, angry people must be fed on that side of the fan spectrum. And you're fooling yourself if you don't think the political spectrum is reflected in fandom. It is. It's absolutely that. There's the woke and the anti-woke. That whole shit is a part of our fandom. It's been a part of our fandom the last few years now. And here they come. They've got to make videos off of it. They've got to make this certain amount. They've got to have this level of views so that their sponsors make money and they can make money. So it's unfortunate to see these kinds of things because the character's name is Morph. It is X-Men. To make it binary seems so fucking logical that it almost defies logic to be upset about it, honestly. But of course, logic is rarely involved in these kinds of things. So be upset at me all you want. And the rogue situation, I think that's smart. You know what I'm saying? That the times change. You want to respect women. You don't want to make it something that people are overtly, going insane about physically and whatever. And so you want to make the proportions accurate. That's okay. I think that's fair. Do you know what I'm saying? So people just need something to be upset about, and they need something to make videos off of. So people keep watching their channels. That's what it is at the end of the day. And we see it all the time now in all the fandom. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because I think that toxicity stains the joy that people had coming out of this trailer when it dropped yesterday. So, yeah.
Shannon?
Look, this has always been what it's been.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if you were a fan of it and you didn't quite realize it, you maybe want to go and sort of reevaluate that experience. But I mean, the whole idea of mutants when Stan Lee created it, I mean, with Xavier and Magneto, it was the MLK Malcolm X thing. And then as the movies kind of came into prominence, I mean, they really leaned into the idea that this was a metaphor for the gay experience,
the LGBTQ+.
for young homosexual kids. I mean, so this is what it always has been. Sorry if that didn't register at the time, but but this is always what it's been.
Yeah. It's interesting. So I tweeted some stuff yesterday, and it ended up going into a deep dive into some very muddy waters.
Did anybody did anybody reply to it? Did anybody?
No, nobody. It got it. Nobody really. Just tweeting into the void. But so this is the part that kind of surprised me and bugged me.
Okay.
Because I agree with everything you're saying. But getting into the gray of it, I've seen a lot of these. I watched some of these, X-Men is now too woke YouTubers. Not going to name them because I don't want to give them the publicity. But, they did this really interesting thing there where they were like, look, everyone's going to get mad at me, but I have a lot of LGBTQ plus friends. And they don't like being gay baited. They don't like these studios doing these little gay characters just to try and appease them. They tell me how much they hate it. And it's true. We've talked about this on the show. Like when Disney did it with the live action Beauty and the Beast. They certainly did it in Rise of Skywalker. When they make a big deal out of we have a gay character and give you a 0.4 second shot of two
100%.
people kissing that they're going to cut out before they ship it to China, that is gay baiting.
Right.
Like, that is not cool.
100%.
Like, I totally get that. But now what I see a lot of kind of the right-wing, more woke mob or anti-woke mob people doing is they're using that argument and they're using it against any character.
Right.
So like now they're like, well, this Morph, this is gay baiting. I'm like, well, okay, first of all, maybe it is. We haven't seen it yet. But I doubt that it is. And to John's point, yes, I hate to break it to you. But if you are a character that can shapeshift into any man or any woman that you want, I guarantee you've done some shit. Like, it's just like, there is no way you didn't. So it actually, it totally makes sense for the character. I'm curious to see where they go with the character. There's absolutely the point where somebody might be like, oh, I don't really like what they did with that. But I don't think so. And knowing that JP is doing the voice of it, I think that's a smart move. So I think across the board, it's probably not that. But I just wanted to bring it up because I do see some of these arguments getting a little bit trickier and trying to be like, I'm trying to be like an ally by telling you that this is bad. And you're like, no, you're just being trickier.
Yeah, and that's what they feed on, and that's what they do, right, all the time. And I see that, and they always find people who represent certain communities who think like them to be on their shows, to be like, see, here's my Latino friend who doesn't, here's my Black friend who doesn't like it. It's all the same bullshit at the end of the day, and it's unfortunate to see. And I'm not saying that they might not have some validity in certain moments. I would never say that fully, but certainly stuff like this, there's bad faith in some of these arguments when you look at it. That's unfortunate at the end of the day, because no one's seen it other than the people who've made it. So how can you possibly speculate that this is gay baiting in any way, shape, or form? Why not wait till it comes out? Then you have evidence, like the He-Man thing. They twisted that all around, and I watched the show. I'm like, what are you people talking about? So yeah, it's crazy.
Well, we will all be able to find out when X-Men comes out next month on Disney Plus from the whole Marvel team and head writer and executive producer Bo DeMaio. So we are very excited, and depending on how busy things are, maybe we'll do a little bit of X-Men 97 reviews if Johnny is ready to dive in and Shannon is ready to watch some cartoons, which he wasn't ready to do in high school, apparently.
All right, let's take a quick break. And speaking of Shannon, he's going to take us into the world of trailers right after this. Let's go.
With trailers. March is a big month. Not only are we getting X-Men 97, we're getting the three things that we're just about to talk about. And the first one is a trailer for a new Netflix feature film called Damsel. This one stars Millie Bobby Brown, Ray Winstone, Angela Bassett, and in a return to the fantasy genre, Princess Buttercup herself, Robin Wright. Yeah. So this one is essentially about a young royal maiden, a young princess who gets married to another family, and it seems like everything's going to be great. Handsome young prince, adoring new mother-in-law in the form of Robin Wright. And turns out she's actually going to be sacrificed as part of this other family's ancient debt to some supernatural being, supernatural entity. I thought this one looked like a lot of fun, kind of came out of nowhere for me. But gentlemen, I'll throw it over to you all first. Mikey, let's go with you. What did you think of our first look at Damsel?
First off, I love fairy tale shit. You like, I love kings, queens, knights, like far away, long ago, once upon a time. I love it. I am always inclined to dive into the world of a fairy tale. And this is, to me, whether the movie is good or not, all the pieces are there for this to be great. And it's a simple story. This isn't complicated. Hey, I found you're going to marry a prince. It's going to be great. Oh, I'm going to get my happily ever after. Look, this looks great. Psych, I'm throwing you into the cave. You're dead. Nope, I'm going to fight my way out. Like, it's straight down the line. You get what it is from the trailer, but if they do it right, it looks like it's going to be super, super satisfying. And it doesn't feel like this is a we're doing girl power. This is this. It's just girl power is inherent to the story. She doesn't want to die. She can fight her way out. The end. Like, that's it. So to me, this was just like a home run trailer. I'm excited about the movie. The Robin Wright of it all, that is A+ casting. Like, it's like Dark Knight. It's like you either die the hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Like, Princess Buttercup grew up and got dirty. Yeah. So I'm super into it. Yeah, I'm super, super excited. Definitely going to check it out as soon as it comes out. Like I said, is it a great cut trailer for a mediocre movie, or is it a trailer that is letting you know that this is something good? We will find out. But right now, I'm excited.
Johnny, you ready to go to a land far, far away?
Yeah, I really was surprised at how much I like this trailer. I see certain trailers and I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Let's see. And then I walked out of this one going, this looks awesome. Because, listen, I'm becoming a massive Millie Bobby Brown fan. And to the Jedi Way, Laura Kelly's credit, she texted me and Kevin yesterday after seeing the trailer and said, I'm coming closer to seeing the possibility of Millie Bobby Brown as a Princess Leia recast, which I've been talking about on Jedi Way for a while now. So I like the idea of her getting more and more opportunities to show what she can do as an actress and what she can do in a film like this. And what's interesting about this too, the Robin Wright thing, you nailed that spot on. That's great. Having Angela in this, I think, is fantastic as well. But you can tell if you're looking for it, there's commentary here. There's commentary about well, this is the way it's always been. This is what we do. This is tradition, blah, blah, blah. Don't question it. Don't be a woman who questions tradition. Let us have our things. There's also commentary about the idea of classism. Well, they're the rich people. Angela says, I don't trust them. You shouldn't trust them. So this idea of like, do we trust the people of power and wealth in our society, the people who supposedly telling us what we're supposed to be doing, what we should sacrifice for? So there's a lot going on here beyond just what you're getting in the surface. But if you don't even want to go that deep, the surface of it is a lot of fun. And I like that she's a badass who's going to fight her way out of this situation. And Millie is so built for something like this. And I know there was that film a few months ago on Hulu where she was I forget, Joey King, I think she was like the princess or whatever.
Was it Maiden? Was it called Maiden?
Something like that. And those are the films that I'm like, ugh. But this has some style and design to it, an interesting context to it that I think gets me excited to watch. Nothing against that in that it's just not my cup of tea. This is my cup of tea, and I'm very much and the visuals here are fucking stunning. And the gold masks, I mean, you can't help but think of Game of Thrones or 300 from those masks. So they're having some kind of allusions to other stuff we've seen before. So yeah,
watching this, I'm like,
eyes wide shut.
Eyes wide shut.
Without the piano. Yeah.
This is like, this is fantasy ready or not. I mean, this is the seemingly perfect family sacrificing you for shit they've done in the past. Millie Bobby Brown, obviously she exploded onto the scene with Stranger Things and 11. She's carved out a little franchise for herself with Netflix with the Enola Holmes series. It's going to be interesting to see how she transitions into adulthood. And based off of this trailer, another character on Netflix where she's playing someone named Elodie. So we've got 11, Enola, and Elodie. If this turns out well, I mean, this could definitely be, Millie Bobby Brown's sort of ascension into like, all right, now you're like you're going to be a legit movie star because of the things that have come before you.
I gotta tell you, man, because it's come up a lot this week with the Johnny Storm casting, but a lot of times you have those younger kid actors and they get older and you're like, oh, well, they were good as kids, but here we go. That whole Stranger Things, I think, is just a fucking field of A+ actors that are going to continue to be A+ actors for like the next 15, 20 years. Like just across the board, I think there's not, I'm not saying all the way, I'm not saying everybody, but I think the majority of them, are far better than than a lot of other kid actors in other franchises are.
Well, and I would think. Okay,
no, go ahead, Johnny.
No, I was just saying real quick, and I think that's why the casting Oscar has been approved, because people are seeing how important casting is and how incredible it is for these cast directors to find these diamonds in the rough, or these unpolished diamonds, and give them the opportunity to show themselves in numerous scenarios. So sorry, Shannon, go ahead. What were you saying?
Well, no, I was going to say between Millie Bobby Brown and Finn Wolfhard,
right.
A good section of that main cast has gone on. And also the guy who plays Steve, who was just in Fargo, his name is escaping me. Like a good section of their main kind of kid cast that were cast when they were kids have gone on to do bigger things. And that's not to say that the rest of them won't, because there's still another season of Stranger Things left. I mean, so yeah, I mean, I do agree that in terms of casting, the Stranger Things team really did it right. But we will all get to see if Millie Bobby Brown can make that journey into action heroine with Damsel when it drops on Netflix on March 8th. That comes to our next trailer, which is our first or second look. It's the first look at the second part of the second season of Invincible.
There you go. You got there.
Speaking of, how X-Men 97 looks, and if that visual style is going to resonate with modern audiences, Invincible for me was difficult at the beginning because they were doing kind of that older style, that kind of old Saturday morning, kind of Super Friends adjacent type visual medium. And I will fully admit, a few episodes into season 1, I was like, yeah, this is really, really working for me. And where the first season, or where the first part of the second season ended, I think, I think story wise,
you got it.
It's kind of firing on all cylinders.
What is going on with you? How hard is this?
You want to talk about the opening of the show?
I did it right. You guys were paid not. Let's play the video again. No. All right, go ahead.
Anyways, I think this second part of the second season looks really good. But Johnny, since you're doing everything perfectly today, why don't you take it away? What did you think?
Well, the first part of the party, the second part. And listen, for those of you who are Marx Brothers fans, I'm a fan of this show so much. And I have a weird relationship with certain shows. Like, I hesitate to watch them because I know I'm going to be like engrossed into the world of what they're creating. So it's a weird thing for me as a critic and reviewer to have that, but I have that, which unfortunately, like, that's why I haven't even dived into Masters of the Air, because I know once I start, I'm going to want to watch all the episodes and it'll consume my fucking weekend, you know? With Invincible is the same way. I always have to be like, okay, I got to just clear some hours here because I really want to dive into this and watch it again after I watch it the first time, because there's so much going on with the show. So seeing this trailer, I thought this trailer was great. There's some new characters coming into the second part of the second season here that I think is going to be, it's going to be real fun to watch. There are some allusions back to stuff that we saw. We're finally getting the villain back again, which I thought was a real weird situation. The first, I think it was 4 episodes that came out of the second season. I was like, okay, we introduced him. I kind of want to see him every episode, and we didn't 100% get that. So I like that we're going back in, and I pause at certain moments at the end of the trailer to see who wasn't at that funeral, to guess who's dying in that, who might be in that casket. And I've got a theory of who might be in that casket because a certain person is not standing around that casket, and I'm wondering if that's the death. And if that's the death, they're going to have to work really hard to make me care about that person's death by that episode. So overall, though, the family stuff, it's all here. Him screaming that he's not going to let anyone mess with his family again, that gets me super hyped. And God damn it, are we going to redeem Omni-Man? Fuck. All right. So overall, just very excited. So there you go.
Mikey, what do you think? 1 + 2 + 1 + 1?
Yeah, so the first look of the second part of the second season was really nice. I unlike John, I don't have to guess. I've read all of the Invincible comics. I kind of know where they're going. So I have the opposite end of it. Is I'm looking at a couple shots that come in, a couple legs that land, a couple things that you see, and I was like, oh, okay, here we go. And it does seem like they're moving a couple things up a little bit from where they came into a couple characters up from where they came into the comics. But like, there is some shit's coming. Like, it is Invincible. Robert Kirkman as a creator, he did a similar thing with Walking Dead and with Invincible. And Walking Dead famously, things just kept getting worse and worse for Scott Grimes. You had to keep going, and once they hit Negan and some stuff in the series, people were like, it's too much. Like, I can't. It's too dark. And
even you,
it's like with Walking Dead, you just now the same thing is going to happen in Invincible with Mark, but because of the world and because of the universe and because of the superheroicness, I don't think it gets quite as bleak as Walking Dead does, but shit is coming. Kind of to your point about Omni-Man, like, what's great about Invincible as a comic and what they've done so well on the show is that you watch the first season and you're like, fuck, man, this is about this guy, and his dad is like, you thought his dad was great and his dad is horrible, and now like his dad almost killed him, and what's going to happen? And then we've gotten to we finished the first half of the second season, and you're like, well, this relationship is not going how I thought it was going to go. I'm confused. Where are we going? But in a good way. Like, it keeps you on your toes. It keeps adding new elements. And so, yeah, this trailer made me very, very excited for what we're going to see for the rest of this season.
Yeah, and it challenges you, right? Because like at the end of the first, like, you find out what Omni-Man's been doing, and you're like, God damn it! But then that's life, isn't it? Sometimes you can't choose your parents, so like the strange shit that they do, you as the child have to deal with it sometimes. So I like it's a nice element in the show as well, that it challenges you as a viewer to be like, man, why would you do that? But then it's like, well, I guess I can see his logic, but I don't want to see his logic. So I like it. Well,
and if you're paying attention to everything that's going on, there is a consistent theme that's being built, which is kind of core to like what Invincible is as a series, because Mark is dealing with what he's dealing with. Like, I wanted to be a superhero just like my dad. Whoop, don't want to be that. What do I want to be? Adam Eve is going around trying to figure out, like, she goes and rebuilds a building, and then the building collapses because she didn't know how to build it. You're like, well, that's not right. And then even Angstrom Levy, who we lost and now we're getting back in the season, is like, he's like, well, I'm super smart. What can I do to make the world better? And there's this idea of like, we've grown up reading comic books and watching comic book movies forever. We know what happens. I'm a good guy. Here's a bad guy. I go punch the bad guy. I stop him from destroying things. If I'm Batman, I throw him in a cell. He's going to come out 6 months later, going to do the same thing over again. I'm going to punch him again. Is that the best way to handle things? Maybe, maybe not. And Invincible kind of dives into those issues, which is what I love about it.
Well, and one character that we did get to hear their voice, I don't know the character's name, but like one of the great things I think about J.K. Simmons' Omni-Man is J.K. Simmons is just a terrific, terrific performer. He can go from warm and nurturing to absolutely terrifying. He has a great growl in his voice, which, you know, go watch Whiplash, you know, not my tempo. But also we get Clancy Brown, who looks like he might be Omni-Man's kind of commander. So you get another one of those great, you know, how did you get so soft? Like just a terrific voice cast. So yes, even though I get a little confused about in which order which things came, I'm still very much looking forward to the second part of the second season of Invincible, which comes out on Amazon Prime on March 14th.
Yeah.
And our last trailer, which is the second trailer of the fifth movie of the Warner Brothers Monsterverse, is Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire. So, you know, we got our teaser a couple of weeks ago. This one sees, you know, our continuing characters from Godzilla versus Kong with Rebecca Hall and Brian Tyree Henry. We get the addition of Dan Stevens in this one. So basically, we find out that the Titans were the guardians of nature, and the great apes were the protectors of humanity. And we find out there's something going on underneath the earth where Godzilla and Kong are going to have to team up. So, gentlemen, I'll throw it over to you first. What did you think at our second look at Godzilla and Kong: The New Empire? Mikey, take it away.
I mean,
don't you dare.
This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, my God. You just saw Madam Web. How can you say that? All right.
I didn't say it was the worst thing. Let me finish. This is like, there's just a certain level, like, to the Madam Web point. There are movies where you're like, I want to make a great film. I'm Denis Villeneuve. I'm going to take Dune. I'm going to do artistic storytelling and cinematography and make a beautiful thing. Then there's like, I want to take this ridiculous story about superheroes or sci-fi stuff or monsters, but I'm going to like give it some meaning. I want to say something. Go see Godzilla -1. It's possible to do. You can go, I'm going to do a giant monster movie and I'm going to make it about something. I want to say something about culture. I want to have this emotional story. Warner Brothers has decided clearly that's not their road they're going down. They don't want to do that. They have chosen their lane.
Yeah.
And their lane is, fuck it. Let's go. And at a certain point, you've just got to respect it. Like when you're like, we watch King Kong get a beam shot at him. He stops it with an axe, but that's not enough. So the humans build him a giant glove so that he can fight the other monkey who is using a giant chain to whip buildings around and hurl them at people. And you're like, guys, I don't know if this makes any sense, but this is cinema. I'm in. Like I don't expect anything from this movie. I don't expect good story. I don't expect a story that even makes sense, but I'm going to see the monkey whip chain the building and throw it at Kong, and Kong hit it with his power glove. And my favorite thing is they're like, oh, we're modeling this movie after like Lethal Weapon or buddy cop movies. Kong and Godzilla don't get along, but they're gonna work as a team. I'm like, okay, cool, great. Like, I'll be there.
Johnny,
yeah,
tell him the truth. Tell him how great this is.
This looks fantastic. This looks like the best one of them all. I'll be honest with you. This looks like a lot of fun. The first teaser, I was like, oh, I don't know. I get okay, fine. Scar King. Okay, them running together. I saw a lot of people getting upset about fictional dinosaurs running on a fucking ledge. But this was like, boom, man. So much in here that I love. And for me, as a massive fan of the original, obviously those films from back then, which Pluto TV has an awesome channel that just shows them all day, every day. which is great, and catch up on all of them. I love the aspect of the connections that they were making to these old school films from that time, and the characters that are bringing in Scar King. You have shades of Planet of the Apes, because that's essentially Koba, who wants to take over and then wants to attack the humans. We hear about the great apes, as you said, and of course I couldn't help but think of Grape Ape, but you hear about the great apes that were protecting the humans initially, so you understand why Kong has a certain connection with the humans. That makes sense. Godzilla, we're getting pink and blue, so we have to figure out when he's using one, when he's using the other. I love that. The axe handle, that creature that's an ice blast. So what is that creature? How old is that creature? And we see fear on Kong's face for the first time ever in 5 movies. So why is he afraid? I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. And the big thing, that is Mothra in her eyes. Mothra! That is my 3rd favorite of all of these creatures, so of the Titans. So the fact that we're getting Mothra, and as soon as that Asian girl was like using sign language, I'm like, oh, Mothra. And sure enough, there it is. So I'm very much looking forward to that as well, because if you remember, the old school Mothra had that connection to those 2 Asian girls. So overall, just for whatever reason, man, and again, I'm the guy who loves those Transformers trailers, so take it with a grain of salt. But for whatever reason, this looks like it's going to be an awesome time at the theater. So there you go.
And I feel the same way about this. I don't have the tie to this that I have with Transformers. Like, and Godzilla -1 to me is the proof of this. Like, when I watch this, I'm like, look, there is a better movie in there. Like, you can take King Kong and Godzilla, and there is a world where you're doing these movies with them that are not this, that elevates it. But at a certain point, you're like, you know what? I respect your choice.
Well, bro, the trailer has 11 million views, man.
I'm like, I respect your choice.
Yeah.
And I will be there. And when that building gets hurled, I saw somebody tweet, like, me in that building, calling my wife and children, telling them I will always love them. And I couldn't stop laughing. I was like, yeah, man. Okay, let's do it.
I just want the 80s black captain of detectives to be like, God damn it, Godzilla, you're gonna make this work, and you go out there and you catch this shit with Kong, and Kong, you better make this work. I just want to see something.
I just want Kong at some point just to like lean against a building and sigh heavily in a very like, I'm getting too old for this shit kind of moment. And then Godzilla comes and just like smacks him on the ass and glows pink and blue, and then they both go fight something. And I'm like, yep, I'm in. Let's do it.
They don't gotta like
you. You want to see this movie. I mean, based off of what you've been saying.
I told you I'm there.
This is the type of movie you have to see in the first weekend because you want to see it on the biggest screen available, which will be on March 29th. March is going to be a big month for things on television and for things, literally a big month for things in the theaters.
Yeah, there's going to be smoke coming off of this YouTube channel in March for sure. There's going to be so much to do. All right, well, there you go. Thanks, Shannon, for the trailers breakdowns. A lot of fun. Let's take a quick break and we'll gird our loins and get ready to jump into Madam Web right after this.
Bum bada bum 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 bada bum 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 bada bum 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 bada bum.
All right, here we go. So get ready, everybody. This is a spoiler review of Madam Web. Spoiler review, just saying that ahead of time. So if you want to turn off the Geek Buddies right now, go watch the movie, and come back and hang out with us, and feel free. If you don't, and you just don't give a shit, well, thank you for continuing to watch. Here we go. Or if you've seen the movie, thank you for continuing to watch. All right, gentlemen, it is official. Madam Web is in theaters, been in theaters since Valentine's Day, ironically, because no one seems to love this movie, and it is getting absolutely destroyed by so many critics here. We had a collection of these fantastic young actresses, Celeste O'Connor, Isabella Merced, and Sydney Sweeney there with Dakota Johnson. And then we had a villain being a part of this who is essentially a Spider-Man, La Araña, played by Tahar Rahim. We had an Adam Scott playing Ben Parker, Uncle Ben, and we had a miscasting, in my opinion, of Emma Roberts as Peter Parker's mom, continuing the Spider-Verse and only seeing these characters in their outfits for less than probably a cumulative minute of on-screen time. So, Mike, I go to you first, as I do with these things. Overall thoughts on Madam Web from Sony Pictures.
So I just want to say this. before we dive in.
Okay.
We try and be as positive as possible. We talk about this all the time. Some of our friends get mad at us for it, but like, I am well aware of the fact that the three of us don't always agree, but every once in a while, the three of us are like, this was bad. And we try and couch stuff because we know that out there, some of you like it. So I hate Multiverse of Madness. I know some of you are like huge Raimi fans. I don't like Zack Snyder movies. John loves them. Shannon's in the middle. Like, we always try and find it. And I would say, I thought about this a lot last night as I got out of the movie. The stuff that I've hated the most, the stuff that I've really disliked the most in the past year, the Multiverse of Madness, Thor Love and Thunder, Rebel Moon, the Marvels, Quantumania, all the stuff that we've talked about where we've been disappointed, I can go through those movies and tell you, well, I liked this. That battle scene with the musical notes in Doctor Strange, it was stylish. That was cool. Thor Love and Thunder made me laugh. Like the Marvels, there was a good story in there. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. There is nothing good in this movie. There is nothing in this movie for me to be like, well, I see what they were trying to do, and had they done this, it might have been stronger. There's none of it. This is like Sony needs to have Spider-Man taken away from them. Like, it is just like, this is so bad. Now, that being said, I had a blast at the movie theater.
Oh, okay.
People were hooting and hollering and yelling at the screen because it is from the moment the movie opens and her mom is 9 months pregnant in the Amazon looking for spiders, and Ezekiel brings her an umbrella and she yells at him for giving her an umbrella, to the very end of this movie, it is every possible bad decision you can make.
Yeah.
And I think the most annoying part of it is kind of what you brought up, which is you have three really strong actresses playing three really cool, potentially cool characters for Sony. And you decided to put them all in one movie for a reason that mystifies me, and promote them by putting them in the costumes that they will one day wear, and then forget about the fact that they never actually get their powers. Right. We don't know enough about their journey. Like, you're just saying, here's three people that are basically the MacGuffins that Dakota Johnson has to keep safe for the movie that are going to one day be something, but we don't even get a hint of that at all in this movie. Like, we don't get the beginnings of an origin story. It's just a mess. Top to bottom.
Shannon McClung, your thoughts?
I mean, again, as Vogel already correctly put it, like, we do try to find something. And like, from the moment this movie started, where Carrie Bechet is playing Cassie's mom,
another great actress being wasted in this film. Yeah.
And I really like Carrie Bechet. But as soon as she started talking, I'm like, something's off. Something right from the beginning. I'm like, something is not right. And you go from Tahar Rahim to me kind of doing like a off-brand Javier Bardem impersonation. Yes. It was just, nothing worked. And I love Adam Scott. I feel like Adam Scott was doing his Ben Parker best. But I mean, just nothing. It was shocking to me that I'm like, literally nothing in this is working, and you can really kind of anchor it all with Dakota Johnson. Like Dakota Johnson in Social Network. I'm like, you're in one scene, you did a perfectly fine job.
Right.
Everything else that I've seen her in, I'm one of the few people that wasn't a big fan of Peanut Butter Falcon. But
oh wow,
yeah, I didn't like it that much. Okay. But everything that she's been in. We talk about the Nepo baby thing that kind of can be a big part of Hollywood. And I feel like she is maybe the worst example of it, just because like watching her stilted line delivery, I'm like, there is nothing behind her eyes. I mean, even when she was they had that the ambulance scene at the beginning, I'm like, I don't really think, I mean, I get that this is supposed to be your job and this is every day, but there was no difference between her driving in that scene and her driving later. I'm like, there's no urgency. There's no passion. It's just devoid of anything. Yeah. And some of the choices that they make at the end, like how they dispatch Ezekiel, I'm like, really? A Pepsi sign? I mean, everything was just kind of bad. Like, and like, full disclosure, I dozed off for about 15 minutes right before the first action scene on the subway, and I was woken up by the 50 people in my theater laughing, and it wasn't like some big joke had just dropped. Like they were literally laughing at what was happening on the screen. And at one point, I think it was the spider person line, Johnny. I heard a guy in front of me go, "God, come on!"
It's exactly what I said. Yeah,
I mean, it is a real bad movie, and I wouldn't go as far to say Spider-Man should be taken from Sony, but maybe you just give that to Lord and Miller. You just keep making Spider-Verse movies.
Yeah. I mean, I was at a press screening. And people were not laughing, but you could hear audible like "ugh" or "oof," And the Spider Person thing, I was sitting in the back corner because you guys know, you've seen movies with me. When I don't like a movie, everybody fucking knows I don't like a movie. So I put myself in the back corner because I had a feeling this wouldn't be good, even though I was hoping against hope. Like, to be fair, I didn't go in with my mind made up. I'm like, maybe this is okay. And then I watched, and as I was going along, I'm like, there's so much nonsensical stuff going on in this film. I don't understand how they get away. And Matt Sazama and Burke Sharpless, I don't know how the fuck you guys have jobs, and I don't know how you keep fun. Lost in Space, fine, 2 seasons of it, but that doesn't mean you get to make so many shitty fucking movies. Like, it's just mind blowing how terrible the writing and the dialogue is in this. And I saw Dakota come out now recently in one of her famous press interviews and say like, "Oh, the script changed a lot from when I signed on." Did it though? Because I've seen all these other scripts with these guys. It's pretty fucking similar how terrible it is. And so, like, you introduce the one comedy actor in your film and you kill him off within 5 minutes. You don't even give him time to connect with the characters. It's just, let's get the black guy and then let's kill the black guy. The trope you've seen in how many films? You're still doing it in 2024? So stupid. Sending white people into South America to get this fantasy thing that apparently they couldn't figure out how to send to the rest of the world, but white people are gonna figure it out, and it's to save my child. Oh, mom, you did love me the whole time. You don't even build up the trauma. Like, that's the thing. There are things that are presented here that you're like, you know what? If you just spent a little more time fleshing them out, making the connections, making it work. And Michael, you bring up a great point. You bring these 3 girls together. They're from broken homes. Okay, let's deal with commonality of family, of emotional trauma from broken families, from missing parents, from parents that don't care, from parents who are too rich to care. All these things, let's make it work. You got a white girl, black girl, Latina girl, and you've got Dakota Johnson's situation, an older woman dealing with still her mom trauma. Let's explore that. That could be really interesting to see 4 women talking about this from the different stages and experiences that they have. There's one hotel room scene where, oh, your mom, oh, my mom, oh, your mom, or your dad, and that's it. And so there's just so much that's wasted here. And the villain has zero motivation. Like, who is he? Why is he trying to rule this world? What is his whole point? And here's my assistant, who I give you no backstory on, who's helping me do all these things. So it's just the level of nonsensicalness is just insane, man.
All that being absolutely true. I want to talk about some things that I loved.
You said love.
I love when a movie goes, I am the main character and I hate helping people.
Yeah.
My core character trait is that I hate helping people, and I am a paramedic first responder. Like, girl, go work at the DMV. Like, if you hate helping people this much, don't be a paramedic. I also love...
Wait, Mike. Here's my drawing. Get that away from me.
It does seem like it was really challenging in those first, when you make a movie and like, here's your main character, there's a whole thing called save the cat in screenwriting. Like, there's a whole, like, here's the things that we're going to have this character do in the first 15 minutes or so of the movie so that you as the audience like them. Like, Aladdin steals bread at the beginning of Aladdin, but the thing he does as soon as that song ends is he gives the bread to some poor little children. You're like, he's a good guy. Right. Going, hey, you saved this kid's mom. He drew you a picture. I don't want that. Like, it was wild. Other thing I love. 3 girls on the run because a man is trying to kill them, who are supposed to lay low, say, we shouldn't do anything in this diner. We should lay low. Hold on. Britney Spears' Toxic just came on. Let's all stand on a table and start dancing. I almost stood up and applauded. almost stood up and applauded. I was like, you know what? Great. Like, there was just, even at the very beginning of the movie, like the audience, our audience was primed, like they knew that they were getting into. When her mom goes, I'm searching for this spider because its venom genetically enhances people and makes them special.
Yeah.
And then Ezekiel says, you mean like the legendary spider people that live in this jungle? And she goes, that's crazy. You're dumb. And I'm like, you literally just said this thing enhances people. What do you think? Like, every single moment of this movie was just all right then. Cool. Like,
yeah.
it was, that's what it is. Like, listen, if you're listening to this review and you're like, should I go see Madam Web? Like, listen.
Yes.
Go at your own peril. But if you're with the right audience.
Yeah.
And maybe if you've had some drinks or a couple edibles, like, it's a wild ride. It is a wild ride. It is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever sat through.
Now, maybe you all can help, because again, I'll admit that I dozed off for a few minutes. So she basically gets kind of a do-over. Like, she sees like, oh, this is how this is going to happen. I'm going to do something different.
Right.
Why didn't she do that when she fell in the water and the firework hit her in the face? Like,
yeah. Right. That's a good point.
I mean, I was like, was there something where they talked about water? That's the one thing that can kind of take away her powers. But also the end, when we do, like, there is this promise that we're gonna see the girls kind of suit up, and you get it, kinda.
Yeah.
Like, not for any use in the plot, just kind of like, hey, let's have something cool to hang out in at the end. But when they show Dakota Johnson,
bruh,
with her glasses in the chair, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the embarrassment is seeping off of you right now. And that final hero shot where she's kind of dangling there in that giant visor in the red suit as a spy. It was just so silly. And yes, this is the moment when my audience was just like, ah!
Well, and so real quick, the thing that we talk about this a lot. Like, we talk about this on the show. We all talk about this when we're just hanging out, is like, you go, like, what went wrong? Like, what could this have been? And like, I think that for the most part, this whole portion of the superhero genre, this Sony universe, this Sony Spider universe with no Spider-Man, is just you're setting yourself up to failure out of the get-go. But like, if you're gonna deal with these girls, I mean, basically they were doing a version of Terminator, a horrible version, because Ezekiel wasn't from the future. He was just having these. Oh, that was the other. Wait, my other favorite part is him saying to Shosh, to him saying, I've been having these visions about these 3 girls that are gonna kill me, and I want to kill them first. And she goes, well, we've taken your visions and come up with the best possible version that we can of what these girls might look like. Yeah. And then just comes up with, like, straight up their photos.
I know, right?
I'm like, well, that is good. But
that's good technology you got there.
So you've got this guy that's like, I want to kill all 3 of these girls because all 3 of them are going to kill me. So let's hunt all 3 of them down. And then you have to go to Johnson finding them and basically being the I'm going to come with me if you want to live. And you've got like a Terminator setup. But like, if you had just had one of those girls had already gotten their powers.
Yeah.
Even if you had one of them had gotten their powers and was trying to figure it out, and she came in and met them, and this guy was like, I'm from the future, or I know what they're going to become, and I need to stop them for this specific reason. Like any kind of reason, but it was just the most basic, I'm going to kill them, and you didn't need 3 of them.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't understand the choice to put all 3 of them in there if you're not, I'm just baffled by the choice.
I think, see, now, and here's where I think how do I say this correctly? I don't want to give credibility to anti-woke people, but this is where I can see their logic of anger, right? They're like, let me get a black woman, a Latina woman, a white girl, we'll put them together, we'll do the Benetton thing, and we're good to go. But this is where representation takes a fucking hit, because you don't do the legwork to understand why these characters and give them some kind of background, a cultural connection that you can kind of have a joy experiencing and connecting to these characters through. There's none of that here. It's frustrating. And then to me, like you said, Shannon, to me, Tahar Rahim, first of all, is a French actor. Second of all, he's from Algerian parents. There's nothing South American about this guy. And it's so frustrating that you don't get away with not casting a South American person because you cast someone else from another country. Fuck you. Like, do the legwork. There are plenty of South American actors who can play characters with accents and whatever. You can find plenty of Latino actors who can imitate a South American accent. So it was just ridiculous on that end. Him trying to do that accent was just so strange. But again, he has these powers that are pretty incredible when you watch him in the movie, but then they conveniently let him down in the subway with these 4 girls. Let me kill 30 police officers rather than I attack the girls and kill them real quickly. The logic, he keeps getting outwitted. And you tell me he can't hear a fucking ambulance coming to hit him twice, for fuck's sake, and jump out of the way? One in midair through a brick fucking building? Like, it's just this kind of stuff that you're just like, why? Like, why are you this fucking stupid? Why do you think this is going to work? What the fuck is wrong with you people? So, yeah. Anything more? Was I going too long? Sorry.
I want to know, what was your favorite line in the movie?
It's tough because I keep texting you guys the one where she's like, I think it's Sydney Sweeney who said or was it Isabella? It says, he's like some kind of spider person. I can't say Spider-Man. Spider person. Oh, man. Or the Ben situation. Like, hey, you get to be an uncle now with none of the responsibilities. How cool is that?
So the line, so I got to get a little bit of context when they're at the baby shower.
Oh, God.
Dakota Johnson talks about that they're going through and being like, hey, you don't have one good memory about your mom. And then she basically says, my mom died in childbirth at the baby shower. And so, and she kind of fumfers, trying to be like, oh, well, no, it was more like this, more like this. And then they're like, well, let's move on to the next game. And it was Emma Roberts like, Cassie, what's your guess? It's like, why would you ask her again?
Yeah, exactly.
This person doesn't know how to operate in public.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me it still is the spider person was up there, but it's when that guy down in Peru looks at her and goes, if you have the if you take the responsibility, great power will come to you. And I'm like this is like I thought when they had revealed, like when we covered it a few weeks ago, and they're like, they've changed the line to this.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm like, okay, so maybe this is something that somebody says in front of Ben, or that Ben overhears, and so he's gonna be like in the worst possible way, like, hey, that's some good advice. I should flip it and remember that one day. Like anything, but great power, great response. That whole thing is so Peter Parker, Uncle Ben, or in the Marvel universe, Peter Parker, Aunt May specific, that to sort of toss it in with these spider people in the jungle. I was like, you guys are really just flopping around here trying to figure out what to do in a Spider-Man universe with no Spider-Man. It is very apparent. So I was like, wow. Just wow. Wow is how I feel about this movie. Wow.
I mean, the South American go, I promised your mother that I would be here when you returned, and to give you the answers. I'm like, oh my God. Oh, and why are they all going to the hospital? Why are they, if they're supposed to lay low, why are they all going with her?
I'll do you one better. I'll do you one better than that. Emma Roberts comes out and goes, my water just broke. I need a doctor.
Yeah.
And Adam Scott starts running around in a panic, like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And I'm sitting here, everyone in my theater at the exact same time went, you're a paramedic.
Exactly.
You're the guy they call when someone's water breaks. You're the one who shows up and says, I know what to do here. Yeah. But he was like, oh, I'm like, I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah. And then they didn't show her name. Always. He's hopping around in there. Do you get it? Do you get it? Oh my God. It was just like, what are you people fucking doing on so many levels, man? So, yeah. So is there any, what do we do with this? Shannon, you mentioned this. I mean, we're looking at the Spider-Verse here, Morbius, Madam Web, Venom 1 and 2, and there's a 3, and then Kraven is coming out later this year. What? Oh, I mean, I get that they have to keep making these movies, I guess, to keep the rights to Spider-Man, but at some point, when does it become a law of diminishing returns in this situation?
Well, I mean, my guess, and you know, I can't say for sure. I mean, looking at what the Venom movies cost, and those have been, you know, very successful. Looking at what Morbius cost, looking what Madam Web, it looks like the budgets are kind of going down. At least, so maybe there's less of a loss. I mean, I think Morbius actively did lose money, but I mean, looking at it, like, you could tell this was not your standard Marvel movie. This probably wasn't $100 million movie. And I don't know if they do have to keep making movies. I mean, if with their co-production with Marvel, they're technically still making Spider-Man movies. So I think there's correct me if I'm wrong here, Vogel, but in their agreement, do they have it in perpetuity, or is it they have to make a movie every so often?
I think that the original deal was you have to make a movie every so often or Marvel gets the rights. But I also think you're right that, like, right now, like you even said, like, John, it's not that they're not allowed to have, like, they're making Spider-Man movies. They're Sony. Like, they could be putting Spider-Man, but I think Kevin Feige is kind of like, whoa, slow your roll. And there's a whole relationship thing there. But between the Spider-Man movies that they are making with Marvel and the animated Spider-Verse movies, which I believe count as Spider-Man movies, I don't know that they do. I might be wrong. Like, maybe they do need to keep making these, but they don't need to be making them this badly. I just think that, you know, and look, I don't like the Venom movies, although compared to Madam Web, like, it's fucking Killers of the Flower Moon over there. But you know, Venom in the comics at this point has become kind of an anti-hero. Like, he has like, they've done a lot of stuff with him. So I would rather they just, like, be like, look, we're not going to do this whole thing and give you every villain without a Spider-Man to fight him. We're going to just focus on Venom and make Venom. Like, great if that was a thing, but, like, they're sort of, the way they sort of are just, like, flopping around, like, we're making our third Venom movie. Okay, Morbius, you guys, it's Morbin time. You guys made fun of us. Cool. But we're going to do Craven over here, and that's going to be a thing. And then Madam Web, and, like, who knows what's next. It's just, like, there's literally no rhyme to the reason. So even if they were, like, very creatively, if they creatively really believed that they could create this universe, like, if they were like, we know that there is this universe because these characters are so rich, like, this doesn't seem like that. This just seems like, all right, what are we going to try now? Let's try and make some money. Like, it just doesn't, there's nothing underneath these that goes, I want this to be a certain thing.
Yeah, let me give you some context here. And this is an article that just came out a couple of days ago on GQ. So this happened back. The reason this is all happening with Marvel and Sony over Spider-Man goes back to the 1980s when Marvel went out to Hollywood to license some of their superhero characters to different movie studios. The independent studio Canon Films, yes, Schwarzenegger and Stallone's their Canon Films, their home at times, bought the rights to Spider-Man, then tried and failed to make a Spider-Man movie, then went bankrupt. In 1996, so did Marvel. So the rights to Spidey were lost in litigation until 1999 when Marvel recovered them and sold them to Sony. The success of Sony's Spider-Man films, along with Fox X-Men movies, helped pull Marvel out of a death spiral in the early aughts, the 2000s. But Sony's agreement with Marvel included a condition requiring the studio to commence production on a dedicated Spider-Man movie within a stipulated time frame that works out to once every 5 years and 9 months. If Sony were to miss that target, the studio could lose a major piece of its IP portfolio. When 2014's Amazing Spider-Man 2 pulled in less money at the box office than any previous Spider-Man movie, and how quickly Sony partnered up with a then ascendant Marvel to reboot the franchise with MCU set Tom Holland Spider-Man films, the 5 years and 9 months deal is part of the reason why. And the licensing deal between Sony and Marvel means Sony controls the film rights to roughly 900 characters from the Spider-Man universe. So if they don't hit that target of 5 years and 9 months every 5 years and I'm having a movie, they would lose a large piece of the port. So there is a deal, but these movies are certainly not coming every 5 years and 9 months.
Well, but also to that point, like, the Spider-Man movies they're making with Marvel count for those.
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
Because they're Sony movies.
Yeah.
And
so they're
I'm
I'm
assuming, and I don't know whether this counts, like, yeah, so, like, forget Tom Holland showing up in other Marvel movies, but, like, between the Spider-Man franchise they are doing with Marvel and the Spider-Verse movies, they're already hitting that quota.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're hitting that quota easily with movies that everyone loves.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the point, is this idea that they are just churning these other movies out because they have to keep something going, I don't believe is the case.
Right. But the thing
now,
is,
they do want to go prove that they can make these on their own, and like, we're going to carve out. Spider-Man is so successful for us that if we can crack this other thing, we can make it cool. And then eventually maybe we'll work it out with Marvel that they'll let us have a Spider-Man in there, or however that whole specific thing works out between them. But I just think, at this point, you've got to be at Sony sitting in a room going, guys, we've tried this. We've tried.
I don't think this gets fixed until they have a Spider-Man, a Garfield or Tobey Maguire. Until they have a Spider-Man in that universe, it's not going to be fixed. And I wonder if Marvel is like telling them, like, don't fuck around with this shit because we've got Tom Holland. But I don't know, because I just don't, there's no logic in this to keep going. Like after Kraven and Venom 3, I really don't see the logic without bringing a Spider-Man in, because it's really a law of diminishing returns now for the last few movies. So it's my opinion.
Well, and I do think with Morbius, like, there's a way that could have worked. Like it
Sure.
just that particular movie just didn't work. I think there's a way that Kraven is going to work.
I hope so.
Madam Web is so connected that it's like yeah. See, I saw that Kraven trailer. I'm like, it might work.
Yeah.
I mean,
They
we'll
got
see.
you. They got you. Yeah. All right. Any final words here? Anything we missed? Anything? The score? Anything here that we missed on all of this? Her not telling Uncle Ben, "Hey, you're gonna get fucking shot in the street," so Peter can become Spider-Man. Anything here that we want to finish up saying about the other film? Anything?
I don't want to talk about this movie ever again.
Go at your own risk and let us know what happens.
Yeah. You can't say you didn't see the future of your experience. I think we made it very clear what your experience will probably be. All right. Well, there you go. That's our supersized edition of the Geek Buddies episode this week. Thank you all so much for watching or listening to us. You can always listen to us on the podcast feed. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
Yeah, I'd like to follow us on social media. On Twitter, it's at @geek_buddies. On Instagram, at @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung. On Instagram, at Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you would like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is at MK2. If you would like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is at The Rocha Says.
Mikey?
And while you were doing all that, you can also smash that like button, subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page, check out all the amazing content he's got there. Leave your comments below. What do you think of the X-Men 97 trailer? Are you excited for Dune 2? What do you think of the other trailers? And also, Madam Web. Let us know in the comments below. If you're listening to us on a podcast, leave us some stars and some comments so we go up in the rankings. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
Yes, and then as Michael said earlier, please watch the three of us talking about the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer and breaking down the fantastic forecasting on a previous episode of Geek Bites that dropped a couple of days ago. If you missed it, go and check that out on the channel this weekend. All right, y'all, take care of yourselves. Be well. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode of the
Geek
Buddies!